Daehyun ran through the massive station like his life depended on it. His worn backpack bounced against his shoulders with every step. Sweat dripped down his face despite the station's cool air. Around him, hundreds of different alien species moved through Nexus Station Alpha, the biggest transport hub in the entire galaxy. Some walked on two legs like him. Others floated. A few crawled on the ceiling with sticky appendages. He checked his datapad again. 7 minutes until his transport departed. Terminal 62 was still 3 sections away. He pushed through a group of tall, blue-skinned Claviche diplomats who hissed at him in annoyance. He mumbled an apology they probably didn't understand and kept running. This flight was everything. If he missed it, he would miss his sister's wedding. Hee-jin would never forgive him. She had sent him at least 20 messages in the past week, each one reminding him not to be late. Their mother had even called from Earth, making him promise on their late father's memory that he would be there. The wedding was on New Busan, a human colony world 3 relay jumps away. This was the only transport that would get him there in time. The next one wouldn't leave for 3 days. 3 days meant he would arrive when the wedding was already over, when Hee-jin was already on her honeymoon, when his chance to walk her down the aisle was gone forever. Daehyun rounded a corner and nearly crashed into a maintenance robot. He jumped over it and kept going. 5 minutes now. He could see Terminal 60 ahead. Almost there. His lungs burned, his legs ached, but he was going to make it. Then he saw her. An old alien sat beside a pile of heavy cases near Terminal 47. She looked like an insect that had been stretched into a humanoid shape. Her carapace was a dull brown color, marked with age spots and small cracks. 6 thin limbs trembled as she tried to lift one of her bags. The bag fell from her grip and hit the floor with a heavy thud. Daehyun slowed down. Other passengers streamed past the struggling alien without even looking. A group of Krix merchants in expensive robes stepped around her like she was a piece of trash. A massive Thornian warrior actually growled when she accidentally knocked into his leg while reaching for her bag. 4 minutes. Daehyun looked at his datapad, then at the old alien, then back at his datapad. He thought about Hee-jin in her wedding dress. He thought about his mother waiting to see both her children together again. He thought about the promise he made. The old alien tried again to lift her bag. Her limbs shook so badly she nearly fell over. Daehyun stopped running. He took a deep breath and walked over to her. "Excuse me," he said softly, trying not to startle her. "Do you need help?" The alien's head snapped toward him. She had compound eyes that glittered like dark jewels. For a moment she just stared at him. Daehyun wondered if she could even understand him. The station had translation systems, but they didn't always work perfectly. "You want to help me?" Her voice came through his translator as raspy and tired. She sounded suspicious. "Yes, if you'd like," Daehyun said. He smiled, even though he wasn't sure if she would understand the expression. "Where are you trying to go?" The alien tilted her head, studying him with those strange eyes. "Terminal 94, she finally said. "But it is very far. You should not trouble yourself." Terminal 94, that was on the complete opposite side of the station. Daehyun looked at his datapad one more time. 3 minutes. If he helped her, he would definitely miss his flight. There was no question about it. "It's no trouble," he heard himself say. The words came out before he could stop them. "My name is Daehyun. What's yours?" "I am Mora," the alien said slowly. She still seemed confused by his offer. "Nice to meet you, Mora." Daehyun bent down and picked up 2 of her cases. They were heavier than they looked. "Let's get you to your gate." Mora made a strange clicking sound that might have been surprise. "You will miss your transport," she said, pointing at his datapad where the countdown continued. "There will be other transports," Daehyun lied. He picked up another bag and gestured for her to lead the way. "Come on. We should hurry so you don't miss yours." They moved through the station slowly. Mora couldn't walk very fast. Her legs seemed weak and she needed to rest every few minutes. Each time she stopped, Daehyun heard the announcement for his transport getting closer to departure. First a 10-minute warning, then 5 minutes, then final boarding. "You should go," Mora said during one of their rest stops. "I can manage." "I'm already here," Daehyun said. "Besides, my sister will understand." He wasn't sure if that was true, but it felt like the right thing to say. They kept walking. Daehyun told Mora about the wedding to distract himself from missing his flight. He told her about Hee-jin and how she had met her future spouse at university. He told her about their mother who raised them alone after their father died. He told her about New Busan and how the colony was trying to grow Korean vegetables in alien soil. Mora listened quietly. Sometimes she asked questions. Her voice got a little warmer as they talked, less suspicious and more curious. She asked about human families and why siblings were important. She asked about weddings and why humans made such big ceremonies for them. By the time they reached Terminal 94, Dae-hyun's transport had left 20 minutes ago. The announcement had stopped. His datapad showed a simple message. Transport 7734 departed. Here we are, Dae-hyun said, setting down Mora's bags near the gate. He tried to sound cheerful. Do you need help getting on board? The station staff will assist me from here, Mora said. She turned to face him fully. You missed your transport for me. For a stranger, why? Dae-hyun shrugged. You needed help. I could help. It seemed like the simple thing to do. Simple. Mora repeated the word like it was foreign. Nothing is simple in the galaxy. Everything has a price. What do you want in return? Nothing, Dae-hyun said. I just hope you have a safe flight. Mora stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She reached out with one of her trembling limbs and gently touched his shoulder. Thank you, Dae-hyun of Earth. I will remember this kindness. You're welcome, Mora. Dae-hyun smiled. Take care of yourself. He watched her shuffle toward the boarding area where station staff in bright uniforms came to help her. She looked back at him once before disappearing through the gate. Then she was gone. Dae-hyun stood there for a moment watching the gate close. Through the massive windows he could see ships coming and going. One of them was probably Mora's. It was a beautiful vessel, he noticed. Sleek and elegant with strange markings along its hull that seemed to glow, not like the commercial transports at all. It must have been a private ship. He didn't notice the emblem on the ship's side, a complex symbol that any galactic citizen would have recognized immediately, the royal seal of the Velthari Empire. Dae-hyun walked back through the station slowly this time. No need to run anymore. He found a bench near a viewing window and sat down. His legs ached. His back hurt from carrying those heavy bags. His datapad showed the next available transport to the Andromeda Relay, 3 days from now. He pulled up his messages and started typing to Hee-jin. His fingers hovered over the screen. How could he explain this? He had missed her wedding to help a random alien carry luggage. It sounded ridiculous even to him. Before he could finish the message, his friend Tae-min called. Dae-hyun answered and immediately heard laughter. Tell me you made the flight, Tae-min said. I didn't make it, Dae-hyun admitted. What happened? Did the transport leave early? No, I stopped to help someone. There was silence on the other end. Then more laughter. You're joking. Please tell me you're joking. An old lady needed help getting to her gate, Dae-hyun said defensively. What was I supposed to do? Run past her like a normal person. Tae-min shouted. Dae-hyun, you idiot. Hee-jin is going to kill you. I know, Dae-hyun said quietly. I know. After he ended the call, Dae-hyun sat on the bench for a long time. He watched ships come and go through the window. Somewhere out there, Mora was traveling to wherever she needed to go. He hoped she arrived safely. He hoped someone would help her with her bags on the other end. His datapad buzzed. A message from an unknown sender. The subject line read, Cultural Exchange Opportunity, MVEL. Dae-hyun deleted it without reading it. Probably spam. The galaxy was full of scams targeting humans who didn't know better. He bought a protein bar from a vending machine and ate it slowly. It tasted like cardboard. Everything tasted like cardboard when you were this disappointed in yourself. Finally, he booked the next transport. It cost almost all his savings. He would arrive at New Busan 3 days after the wedding. Maybe he could still see Hye-jin before she left for her honeymoon. Maybe she would forgive him eventually. He pulled up her contact and started the call. She answered immediately, her face filling the screen. She was in her apartment and he could see wedding decorations in the background. Please tell me you're on the transport, she said. Dae-hyun took a deep breath. Hee-jin, I'm so sorry. Something came up and her face crumpled. Tears filled her eyes. You promised, Dae-hyun. You promised on Dad's memory. I know. I'm sorry. I'll explain everything when I see you. I'll be there in 3 days. 3 days? The wedding is in 2 days. What could possibly be more important than... She stopped and wiped her eyes. You know what? Forget it. Just forget it, she ended the call. Dae-hyun sat there holding his datapad. staring at the blank screen. He felt terrible, worse than terrible. But when he closed his eyes, he saw Mora struggling with those bags. He saw all those people walking past her without caring. He couldn't regret helping her. Even if it cost him everything. Even if his sister never forgave him. That was just who he was. Around him, the station continued its endless activity. Thousands of beings coming and going, each focused on their own destinations, their own goals. None of them knew that the simple human sitting on the bench had just changed the course of galactic history, but they would find out soon enough. The Imperial flagship Eternal Dawn was larger than most moons. It drifted through the void of space like a mountain made of metal and light. Inside its grandest chamber, Supreme Matriarch Velmora sat on her throne and looked at her 3 children. She had removed her disguise shortly after boarding. The weak, trembling old woman was gone. In her place sat the most powerful being in the known galaxy. Her carapace gleamed with polish and precious metals. Royal guards stood at attention around the room. Advisors waited silently for her commands. But Velmora was not thinking about her empire right now. She was thinking about a human named Dae Hyun. "You risked your safety for a test," Crown Prince Ralvek said. His voice was hard and disapproving. He stood tall and proud, his carapace decorated with military honors. "This was foolish, Mother, was it?" Velmora asked. She sounded amused. "I learned more in one day of walking among common travelers than I have from a year of reports." Second Princess Kivara moved closer. She was smaller than her brother, but everyone knew she was just as dangerous. Her mind was her weapon, not her strength. "And what did you learn, Mother?" "I learned that the galaxy is cold," Velmora said. "I stopped at 47 different locations. I pretended to need help at 23 stations. Do you know how many beings offered assistance?" "None, I assume," Third Prince Morveth said quietly. He was the youngest and the kindest of her children. "Except the human." "Except the human," Velmora agreed. "One human. From a species we barely notice. A species with no great military power. A species that only joined the Galactic Council 30 years ago." She leaned forward on her throne. "And yet this human sacrificed something precious to help a stranger." Ralvek made a dismissive gesture. "Sentiment. Weakness. This is why humanity remains insignificant." "They waste resources on meaningless gestures, do they?" Velmora asked. "Or have we forgotten what it means to care for something beyond ourselves?" The chamber fell silent. No one spoke against the matriarch, but Velmora could see disapproval in many faces. Her empire was built on strength and efficiency. Sentiment was a luxury they had abandoned generations ago. "I want to know more about this human," Velmora announced. "About his species. About what makes them capable of such kindness." Kivara bowed her head. "I will assign our best investigators to study him." "Do so discreetly," Velmora ordered. "I do not want him to know he is being watched." As the council session ended and the advisors filed out, Morveth remained behind. He approached his mother's throne carefully. "You saw something in him," Morveth said. "Something important?" Velmora nodded. "I saw the future, perhaps. Or a possibility of one. Our empire is strong, Morveth. But strength without compassion creates only fear, and fear creates rebellion. You think humanity could teach us compassion? I think one human already showed more compassion in 10 minutes than our empire has shown in 10 generations." Morveth considered this. "Ralvek will oppose any closer contact with humanity." "Ralvek opposes many things," Velmora said. "But I am still matriarch, and I have made my decision." While the empire began its investigation, Dae Hyun sat alone in his small quarters on Nexus Station. He had spent most of his savings on a tiny room for the 3-day wait. The walls were gray metal. The bed was hard. The windows showed nothing but the blackness of space and the distant stars. He had tried calling Hye-Jin 3 more times. She did not answer. He had sent her a long message explaining everything. She had not replied. His mother had called, disappointed and confused. Taemin had sent a message that just said, "You're an idiot," with a sad face emoji. Dae Hyun lay on the hard bed and stared at the ceiling. Maybe he was an idiot. Maybe helping Mora had been a mistake. But every time he closed his eyes and imagined walking past her, imagined ignoring her struggle, he felt sick to his stomach. He could not have done it. He could not have left her there. His datapad buzzed. Another message from that same unknown sender. Monsieur Val again. This time the subject line read, Please read, not spam, very important. Dae-hyun almost deleted it again, but something made him open it instead. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe the universe was pushing him towards something he did not understand yet. The message was formal and strange. It invited him to something called a cultural exchange program with the Velthari Empire. It offered to pay for all his travel and accommodations. It promised he would be returned to Earth safely whenever he wished. Dae-hyun had heard of the Velthari Empire. Everyone had. They controlled thousands of worlds. Their military was the strongest in the galaxy. They had technology that made human science look like children playing with rocks. Why would they want him for a cultural exchange? He deleted the message and tried to sleep. 3 sectors away in a secure intelligence facility, Velthari investigators worked through the night. They had hacked into Earth's databases with ease. Human security was laughable compared to their systems. Within hours, they had compiled a complete profile of Dae-hyun. The lead investigator, a Velthari named Tikral, presented the findings to Princess Kivara. The human is unremarkable, Tikral reported. He works in cargo logistics on Nexus Station. His salary is modest. He lives in a small apartment in what humans call Soul District on Earth. He has no criminal record, no political connections, no special skills or training. And yet, Kivara prompted. She knew there was more. And yet he volunteers 15 hours every week at a refugee assistance center. He has given up 2 promotions to help train struggling co-workers. He sends 70% of his salary to support his mother and his sister's education. Tikral paused. By our standards, his behavior is irrational. He sacrifices his own advancement for others with no expectation of return. Fascinating, Kivara murmured. What else? He has been reprimanded twice by his employers for spending too much time helping new workers, instead of focusing on his own tasks. He once gave his entire monthly bonus to a Zelnari co-worker whose child was sick. He missed a career opportunity because he stayed late to fix a mistake made by someone else. Kivara studied the data on her screen. The human's face looked back at her. He had a kind face, soft by Velthari standards. Weak, her brother would say. But her mother had not called him weak. Her mother had called him interesting. Send another invitation, Kivara ordered. Make it more direct this time. And have royal guards ready to deliver it in person if he refuses again. Back on Nexus Station, Dae-hyun finally fell asleep. He dreamed of the wedding he would miss. In his dream, Hyejin walked down the aisle alone crying, while their mother watched from the audience with disappointment in her eyes. He tried to run to them to explain, but his feet would not move. He woke up feeling worse than before. The next day passed slowly. Dae-hyun went to the station's common areas and watched aliens of every species move through their daily routines. He saw families traveling together. He saw businessmen making deals. He saw lovers saying goodbye before boarding different ships. He bought cheap noodles from a food vendor and ate them while sitting by a window. The noodles were terrible, but they reminded him of Earth, of home, of his tiny apartment that suddenly seemed very far away. His datapad buzzed again. The same sender. This time the message just said, "Be pleased, Dae-hyun. This is important. Lives may depend on it." Mora. Dae-hyun nearly dropped his noodles. Mora, the old alien he had helped? He opened the message fully. It was longer this time. It explained that Mora was not who she seemed. It explained that she wanted to thank him properly. It asked him to trust her one more time. Dae-hyun read the message 3 times. It could still be a scam. People could fake sender names. But something about it felt real. Felt honest. He typed a reply. How do I know this is really you? The response came immediately. You told me about your sister's wedding, about new Busan and Korean vegetables in alien soil, about your father and your mother who raised you alone. Would a scammer know these things? Dae-hyun's hand shook slightly. What do you want from me? Nothing. I want to give you something. A chance, a choice. Read the invitation properly. Consider it. You can refuse if you wish. But please at least consider it. Dae-hyun pulled up the previous messages. He read the invitation carefully this time. A cultural exchange program. 3 months minimum, 6 months maximum. All expenses paid. A generous stipend that would be enough to pay for Hyejin's entire wedding and more. A chance to see parts of the galaxy most humans never witnessed. And it was from the Velthari Empire. From Mora. His mind raced. Who was Mora really? Why did she care so much about one human who helped her with her bags? Another message arrived. I know you have questions. Come to the Empire and I will answer them. I promise you will be safe. I promise you can leave whenever you wish. But I think you will want to stay. I think you will want to see what your kindness has started. Daehyun stared at his datapad for a long time. He thought about his sister who would not speak to him. He thought about his dead-end job in his tiny apartment. He thought about spending 3 days traveling to a wedding that was already over. He thought about Mora struggling with her bags while everyone else walked past. He typed, "When would I need to leave?" The response was immediate, "Tomorrow morning. A ship will meet you at Terminal 94, the same place where you helped me." Tomorrow. That was so soon. He had not even left Nexus Station yet. He had not gone back to Earth. He had not seen his mother or made peace with Hyojin, but something deep inside him whispered that this was important, that his simple choice to help a stranger was leading somewhere he could not yet see. Daehyun took a deep breath and typed one word. Okay. In the Imperial flagship Eternal Dawn, Velmora received the notification that the human had accepted. She felt something she had not felt in many years, something that might have been hope. Send word to the palace, she ordered. Prepare quarters for our guest. And someone contact the Galactic Council. Inform them that humanity's status is about to change. Ralvek heard the news and felt rage building inside him. A human, in the Imperial Palace. It was an insult to everything the Empire stood for. He would not allow this to stand. But those thoughts would lead to actions later. For now, the galaxy continued turning. Ships jumped through space. Beings lived and died. Empires rose and fell, and one simple human prepared to step into a destiny he never asked for. All because he chose kindness when the rest of the galaxy chose to walk away. Daehyun had packed his small backpack 3 times before he felt satisfied. Not that he owned much to pack. 2 changes of clothes, his data pad, some personal items, and a small photo of his family. The photo was old and creased. It showed him Hyojin and their parents before their father died. Everyone was smiling. Simpler times. He was ready to leave for Terminal 94 when someone knocked on his door. Not the soft knock of station staff. A hard, powerful sound that made the metal door shake. Daehyun opened the door and froze. 3 Velthari stood in the hallway. But these were not like Mora, these were soldiers. Royal Guards. Their carapaces were covered in ceremonial armor that gleamed with power cores. Energy weapons hung at their sides. They were enormous, each one nearly twice Daehyun's height. Daehyun of Earth? The lead guard asked. His voice was deep and formal. Yes? Daehyun's voice came out as a squeak. He cleared his throat. Yes, that's me. We are here to escort you to the Imperial flagship. Supreme Matriarch Velmora requests your presence. Supreme Matriarch. The words hit Daehyun like cold water. He knew that title. Every being in the galaxy knew that title. The Supreme Matriarch ruled the Velthari Empire. She controlled 40,000 inhabited worlds. She commanded the most powerful military fleet in known space. I think there's been a mistake, Daehyun said weakly. I was just supposed to meet Mora for a cultural exchange program. The guard's compound eyes seemed to glitter with amusement. There is no mistake. Please gather your belongings. We depart immediately, but I need to... Daehyun looked around his tiny room desperately. Can I at least make some calls first? You may contact whoever you wish from the flagship. The matriarch has requested that we not delay. Daehyun grabbed his backpack with shaking hands. This could not be happening. This had to be some kind of dream. Or nightmare. He was not sure which. The guards escorted him through the station. Every being they passed stopped and stared. Some pressed themselves against the walls in respect or fear. Velthari royal guards were not common sights outside Empire territory. At the docking bay, a ship waited. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Sleek black metal covered in glowing symbols. The same ship he had seen leaving when Mora departed. The royal seal of the Velthari Empire marked its hull. Daehyun's legs felt weak as he climbed aboard. The journey to the Imperial flagship took 6 hours. Daehyun spent most of it in a comfortable cabin, trying not to panic. He sent a message to his mother. Something came up. Something big. I'll explain later. I'm safe. I love you. He sent another to Hyojin. I know you're angry. I don't blame you. But please know that helping that old lady might have been the most important thing I ever did. I'll make it up to you. I promise. He did not mention where he was going. He did not mention the Velthari Empire. She would think he had lost his mind. When the ship docked with the Eternal Dawn, Daehyun looked out the window and felt his breath catch. The flagship was impossible. It stretched in every direction like a city in space. Lights glowed from millions of windows. Ships came and went from hundreds of docking bays. It was more than a ship. It was a world unto itself. A young Velthari waited for him at the airlock. This one was smaller, less intimidating. He wore simple robes and had a nervous energy about him. "Welcome, honored guest," the young Velthari said with a bow. "My name is Sekrin. I have been assigned as your personal attendant." "My what?" Daehyun asked. "Your attendant. I will help you navigate the palace, answer your questions, and ensure your comfort during your stay." "Oh, thank you." Daehyun had never had an attendant before. He had never had anyone do anything for him except his mother when he was a child. Sekrin led him through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Everything was massive. The ceilings were so high that Daehyun could barely see them. The walls were decorated with art and precious metals. They passed rooms that could have held his entire apartment building. "These will be your quarters," Sekrin announced, opening a door. Daehyun stepped inside and felt dizzy. The room was enormous, bigger than any place he had ever lived. Windows showed the stars outside. Furniture that looked comfortable sat arranged perfectly. A sleeping area was raised on a platform. Several other rooms connected to this main space. "This is just for me?" Daehyun asked. "Of course. Is it not satisfactory? I can request different quarters if..." No, it's too much. This is way too much." Sekrin tilted his head in confusion. The matriarch insisted you have proper accommodations befitting an honored guest. Daehyun set his backpack down on a chair that probably cost more than his yearly salary. "Where's the nearest cafeteria? I should probably eat something." "Cafeteria?" Sekrin looked puzzled. "You have 17 personal chefs assigned to your quarters. They can prepare anything you desire at any time." 17 chefs? For me? Is that insufficient? I can request more if... No. That's insane. I don't need 17 chefs. I usually just heat up instant noodles. Sekrin's confusion deepened. Daehyun realized that his attendant had no idea what to make of him. He probably seemed completely crazy by Velthari standards. "What about laundry?" Daehyun asked, trying to think practically. "Where can I wash my clothes?" "You have a staff of 12 who handle your wardrobe. They will clean and maintain all your garments." Daehyun sat down heavily on the expensive chair. 12 people. To wash my 2 shirts. "Actually, you will find an extensive wardrobe has been prepared for you. Over 300 outfits in various styles suitable for different occasions." "I don't need 300 outfits. I don't even need 17. Sekrin made a note on his data pad. "I will inform the staff that you prefer simplicity. Though I must confess I find your preferences highly unusual." "Yeah, well, I'm just a cargo handler from Earth. This is all way beyond anything I'm used to." "You are too modest, honored guest. The matriarch would not have summoned you if you were ordinary." Before Daehyun could respond, a message arrived on his data pad. It was from Mora, except the sender name now read, Supreme Matriarch Velmora. His hands shook as he opened it. "Welcome to the Eternal Dawn. Please rest and refresh yourself. We will speak this evening over dinner." "Wiem, Sekrin." Daehyun's voice was quiet. "Mora, the old alien I helped at the station. She's really the Supreme Matriarch?" "Yes, honored guest. The ruler of 40,000 worlds." "Yes, honored guest. The most powerful being in the galaxy?" "Yes, honored guest." Daehyun put his face in his hands. "I'm going to be sick." Sekrin rushed to get a waste receptacle, but Daehyun waved him away. "Not literally. It's just... I made her walk slow because of my short human legs. I told her about my sister's wedding drama. I carried her bags like she was my grandmother." "The matriarch speaks very highly of you," Sekrin said gently. "I have served in the palace my entire life. I have never seen her show such interest in anyone. You must have impressed her greatly." "I just helped her with her bags," Daehyun said weakly. "That's all I did." "Perhaps that is exactly why she summoned you." That evening, Daehyun was escorted to a private dining chamber. It was smaller than his quarters, but no less impressive. A long table was set for 2. The walls were transparent, showing the stars beyond. Bellamora was already seated when he arrived. She looked nothing like Mora. Her carapace gleamed with polish and precious metals. Royal robes draped elegantly across her form. She radiated power and authority, but when she gestured for Daehyun to sit, her movement was gentle, familiar. Thank you for coming, she said. Her voice was the same, tired but warm. Did I have a choice? Dae-hyun asked, then immediately regretted it. Sorry, that was rude. Thank you for inviting me, Your Majesty. He had looked up proper forms of address during the afternoon. Velmora made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. You are refreshingly honest. Please sit. Eat. I have had my chefs prepare food suitable for human consumption. The meal was strange but not unpleasant. Dae-hyun tried things he could not name. Some were good. Some were terrible. Velmora watched him with those compound eyes, asking questions about Earth and human culture. Why did you help me? She finally asked. They had finished eating and were sitting with drinks that sparkled slightly in the glasses. I told you, you needed help. Yes, but why did you care? You did not know me. You had no obligation. You sacrificed something precious for a stranger. Dae-hyun thought about his answer carefully. My father used to say that we're only as good as how we treat people when no one's watching. When there's nothing to gain from it. You were struggling. Everyone else walked past. I couldn't do that. Interesting, Velmora murmured. I conducted a test, Dae-hyun. I wanted to see how different species truly behave when they believe no one important is watching. I made myself appear weak and in need. I visited 47 different locations, 23 stations. Do you know how many beings offered to help? Dae-hyun had a sinking feeling in his stomach. Just me? His heart sank. Oh, right, I forgot. He looked down at his hands. Then I guess I don't want anything. I didn't help you to get a reward. That, Velmora said softly, is exactly why you deserve one. But I have something better than getting you to a wedding that is already past. I have a proposal, she explained her offer. Ambassador, the first human ambassador to the Velthari Empire, a position of honor and importance, a chance to represent his species to the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. Dae-hyun listened with growing horror. I can't do that, he said when she finished. I'm not a diplomat. I'm barely a cargo handler. I failed my public speaking class in school. I once accidentally insulted a Krix merchant by offering to shake his hand. I'm not qualified for anything like this. You are exactly qualified, Velmora insisted. You have what no amount of training can teach. You have genuine compassion. You have the ability to see beings. Not just species or ranks or use. That is what I need. But why? Why me? Why humans? Velmora was quiet for a moment. Because the galaxy is changing, Dae-hyun. Old powers are fading. New conflicts are rising. And I believe that compassion, not strength, will determine who survives what is coming. Your species possesses something rare. I want to understand it. I want the galaxy to witness it. I need to think about this, Dae-hyun said. His mind was spinning. This is huge. I can't just decide something like this over dinner. Of course. Take your time. But know this. Whether you accept or not, you have already changed things. The simple fact that I summoned you has the entire Galactic Council talking. Humanity's status is already rising. You just need to decide if you want to guide where it goes. Dae-hyun returned to his quarters in a daze. Sekrin was waiting with tea and quiet concern. Are you well, honored guest? I don't know, Dae-hyun admitted. I don't know anything anymore. He lay in his enormous bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere far away, Hyejin had gotten married without him. Somewhere far away, his mother was worried about him. Somewhere far away, Taemin was probably telling everyone that Dae-hyun had lost his mind. But here, in this impossible place, a ruler of 40,000 worlds thought he was important, because he had helped an old lady with her bags. The universe, Dae-hyun decided, made absolutely no sense at all. Dae-hyun did not sleep well. His enormous bed was too soft. The room was too quiet. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Velmora's face asking him to become an ambassador. An ambassador. Him. A guy who once spilled coffee on his boss during a presentation. When morning came, he found Sekrin waiting outside his quarters with breakfast and news. The Galactic Council has requested an emergency session, Sekrin announced as he set down a tray of food. They want to discuss the matriarch's interest in humanity. The news has spread across all major worlds. That was fast, Dae-hyun muttered, picking at something that looked like eggs but was purple. The galaxy pays attention when the Velthari Empire pays attention to someone, especially when that someone is from a minor species. Sekrin paused. No offense intended, honored guest. None taken. We are pretty minor. Dae-hyun sipped his tea. It tasted like cinnamon and starlight. What's everyone saying? Many things. The Crix Trade Consortium believes the matriarch is showing favoritism that will disrupt economic balance. The Thornian warlord clans think it shows weakness to honor someone with no military achievements. The Claviche diplomatic corps is concerned about changing power structures. So everyone's mad? Concerned would be more accurate. Change makes people nervous. And you, Daehyun of Earth, represent a very big change. A summons arrived before he finished breakfast. Velmora wanted to see him in the throne room. Immediately. The throne room was the largest space Daehyun had ever seen. The ceiling was so high it had clouds. Actual clouds. Hundreds of courtiers and officials lined the walls. Royal guards stood at attention. And at the far end, on a throne that seemed carved from a single massive crystal, sat Velmora. Daehyun felt like he might throw up. Sekrine led him forward. Every eye in the room watched him. Every whisper was about him. He tried to walk normally, but was pretty sure he looked ridiculous. Daehyun of Earth, Velmora's voice carried across the enormous space. Have you considered my proposal? I have, Your Majesty. Daehyun's voice sounded tiny in the huge room. And I'm honored. Really. But I don't think I'm the right person for this. I'm not a leader. I'm not special. I'm just a guy who helps people sometimes. That is precisely why you are perfect, Velmora said. But before she could continue, one of the other Velthari stepped forward. Crown Prince Ralvek. Daehyun recognized him from the royal seals he had seen around the palace. The prince was massive and intimidating, his carapace covered in military decorations. Mother, I must speak, Ralvek said. His voice was hard. This human is not suitable for such an honor. Humanity is a primitive species. They have no significant military power, no technological achievements of note, no cultural influence. Giving them such a position insults every species that has earned their standing through strength and accomplishment. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the court. Velmora's eyes narrowed. Are you questioning my judgment, my son? I am questioning the wisdom of elevating a species based on sentiment rather than merit. Daehyun wanted to sink into the floor. He wanted to disappear. But something in Ralvek's tone made him angry too. The prince was not wrong about humanity being less advanced. But he said it like it meant humans were worthless. If I may speak, Your Majesty, Daehyun heard himself say. The entire court went silent. Velmora gestured for him to continue. Prince Ralvek is right, Daehyun said. Humans are not the strongest species. We don't have the best technology. We're pretty new to all of this. He looked at the prince. But we try to be kind. We try to help each other. And maybe that doesn't seem important to you, but it's important to us. Kindness does not win wars, Ralvek said dismissively. Kindness does not build empires. No, Daehyun agreed. But it makes life worth living. What good is an empire if everyone in it is miserable? The court erupted in conversation. Some seemed offended. Some seemed intrigued. Velmora made a gesture and everyone fell silent again. The Galactic Council has issued a challenge, she announced. They want proof of humanity's worth. They have presented a task that, if completed successfully, will validate my decision to honor your species. Daehyun's stomach dropped. What kind of task? There is a trade dispute between the Crix Consortium and the Belcor Collective. They have been in conflict for 600 years. Many diplomats have tried to mediate. All have failed. The council wants you to try. Me? Mediate a 600-year conflict? Daehyun's voice came out as a squeak again. That's impossible. Yes, Velmora said. That is the point. They believe you will fail and prove that humanity is not ready for greater standing in the galaxy. Then I definitely can't do it, Daehyun said. I'll make things worse. I'll fail and embarrass my whole species. Or, a new voice said, you will surprise everyone. Third Prince Morveth stepped forward. He was smaller than his brother, his carapace marked with scholarly symbols rather than military ones. The traditional approach has failed for 6 centuries, Morveth continued. Perhaps what is needed is an untraditional approach. Perhaps what is needed is someone who sees the problem differently. That's a nice thought, Daehyun said. But I have no training in diplomacy. I don't even know what the Crix and Belcor are fighting about. Resources, Sekrine whispered from beside him. A shared star system that both species need for mining operations. Neither trusts the other not to claim it entirely. You have 3 days to prepare, Velmora said. The mediation will take place on neutral ground. Representatives from both sides have reluctantly agreed to attend, primarily because refusing a request from the Velthari Empire would be unwise. 3 days? Daehyun felt dizzy. That's not enough time to— You helped an old woman with her bags in 3 minutes, Velmora interrupted. Without thinking. Without planning. You simply saw what needed to be done and did it. I have faith you will do the same here. The meeting ended. Daehyun walked back to his quarters in a daze. Sakharin followed silently, probably giving him space to panic internally. Once inside his room, Daehyun sat on his expensive chair and put his head in his hands. I'm going to fail, he said. I'm going to fail spectacularly and prove Prince Ralvek right and make Earth look stupid. Perhaps, Sakharin said. Or perhaps you will succeed in a way no one expects. For the next 3 days, Daehyun studied. Sakharin brought him files on the Krix and Belkor. He read histories of their conflict. He watched recordings of past mediation attempts. He learned about their cultures, their values, their grievances. The problem was clear. Both species needed resources from the same star system. Both believed they had the better claim. Both were convinced the other would cheat any agreement. Traditional mediators had tried everything. Complex treaties with enforcement mechanisms, third-party oversight, resource-sharing schedules. None of it worked because the fundamental problem was trust. How do you make two species trust each other when they have been enemies for 600 years? Daehyun had no idea. On the evening before the mediation, his mother called. It was the first time they had spoken since he arrived at the Imperial flagship. Daehyun, what is happening? She demanded. There are news reports saying you're meeting with galactic leaders. The Earth government contacted me asking if I know what you're doing. Are you in trouble? No, Mom, I'm okay. I'm just helping with something. Helping with what? And where are you? The news says you're with the Velthari Empire, but that can't be right. It's kind of right, Daehyun admitted. I helped someone important, and now they want me to help with something else. It's complicated. His mother was quiet for a moment. Is this because you missed the flight? Yeah, the old lady I helped was actually really important. Like ruling the galaxy important. Of course she was, his mother said, and Daehyun could hear the smile in her voice. That's so like you. You find the one person in the entire galaxy who needs help and she turns out to be royalty. I didn't know. I just thought she was a nice old lady with heavy bags. I know. That's what makes it perfect. His mother's voice became serious. Hee-jin is still upset, but she's proud of you too. She saw the news. We all did. The whole neighborhood is talking about how Seoul's own Daehyun is representing humanity to the Velthari Empire. I'm probably going to mess it up. Mom, tomorrow I have to mediate this huge conflict and I have no idea what I'm doing. Then do what you always do, his mother said. Be yourself, be kind. Listen to people. You've always been good at that. That doesn't seem like enough to solve a 600-year war. Maybe not, but it's all you have, so use it the best you can. Your father would be proud of you. I'm proud of you. Whatever happens tomorrow, you tried to help. That's what matters. After the call ended, Daehyun sat in silence. He thought about his father, about kindness, about all the complicated treaties and strategies he had studied that had not worked. Maybe his mother was right. Maybe complicated was not the answer. Maybe what was needed was something simple. He pulled up his notes and started over, this time not looking for clever solutions, just looking for what people actually needed. The next morning, Daehyun stood in a conference chamber on a neutral station. Across from him sat the representatives from the Krix Consortium and the Belkor Collective. They looked angry already. This was going to go terribly. Velmora watched from a viewing gallery above. Ralvek was there too, probably hoping to see him fail. Most of the Galactic Council had sent observers. No pressure. Daehyun took a deep breath. Thank you both for coming, he said. I know you've done this many times before. I know you're probably tired of mediators who don't understand your positions. So I'm going to try something different. I'm going to ask you what you actually need. Not what you want to win. Not what will hurt the other side. Just what you actually need to survive and thrive. The Krix representative made a dismissive gesture. We need the resources in the disputed system. Without them, our economy collapses. We need the same resources, the Belkor representative snapped. For the same reasons. Okay, Daehyun said. So you both need the resources. You both depend on them. What if instead of fighting over who controls the system, you work together to extract the resources more efficiently? A joint operation. We tried that 400 years ago, the Crick said. They cheated. We did not cheat. The Belcor shouted. You took more than your share. See? The Crick said to Daehyun. This is why it will never work. They cannot be trusted. Daehyun thought about trust, about how humans built it. What if there were safeguards? Not just agreements, but actual oversight that both sides choose? We've tried oversight, the Belcor said wearily. Third parties get bribed or choose sides. What if you oversee each other? Daehyun suggested. Each side picks people to monitor the other's operations. You each choose who watches you from the other side. If someone tries to cheat their own people and the other side's people will both report it. The room went quiet. The Crick's representative started. That's incredibly messy. Yeah, Daehyun admitted. It would be complicated and probably frustrating. But if you're both watching each other with people you picked yourselves, it's harder for anyone to cheat without getting caught. It would require cooperation, the Belcor said slowly. Constant cooperation. Yes, that's the point. You're stuck with each other whether you like it or not. The system is between your territories. You can fight over it for another 600 years, or you can accept that you're neighbors and find a way to share. It was not elegant. It was not perfect. But slowly, painfully, the two sides began discussing details. Daehyun mostly stayed quiet, just clarifying things or asking questions when discussions got heated. Hours passed. People got tired. Tempers flared, but nobody walked out. Finally, as the station's lights dimmed to indicate evening, both sides agreed to a trial period. 6 months of joint operations with mutual oversight. Each side would choose monitors from the other side to watch their facilities. A third neutral party would mediate disputes. It was messy. It was imperfect. It would probably be difficult. But it was a start. When the agreement was signed, the viewing gallery erupted in conversation. Daehyun heard shock and disbelief. He heard a few voices praising the creative solution. He heard Ralvek saying something angry in the Velthari language. Velmora simply nodded at him, compound eyes glittering with approval. Daehyun walked out of the conference chamber feeling like he might faint. Sekrin was waiting with water and genuine excitement. You did it! No one believed you could, but you did it. I just asked them what they needed, Daehyun said. That's all. That's all, Sekrin repeated. That's all any of the career diplomats failed to do for 6 centuries. A message arrived on his datapad. From He-Jin. I saw the news. You're trending across 15,000 worlds. You absolute idiot. Call me when you can. I want to hear everything. And Daehyun, I forgive you for missing the wedding. This was way more important. I'm proud of you. Dad would be proud of you. We all are. Daehyun sat down right there in the corridor and cried. Sekrin looked alarmed. Are you unwell, honored guest? No, Daehyun said through his tears. I'm okay. These are happy tears. Happy. Tears? Sekrin looked confused. Humans leak when they are happy. Yeah, we're weird like that. And for the first time since this whole insane adventure started, Daehyun laughed. Success felt strange. Daehyun woke up in his enormous quarters to find that he had become famous across the galaxy overnight. Messages flooded his datapad from news organizations, governments, and beings he had never met. Earth's representative to the Galactic Council sent a formal congratulations. The human government wanted to give him a medal. Taemin's message was simpler. You crazy bastard. You actually did it. Everyone here is losing their minds. They're showing your face on every news channel. Please tell me you're getting paid for this. His mother called 3 times before breakfast just to make sure he was eating properly. Hyejin sent photos from her honeymoon with captions like, My brother the galactic hero, and still can't believe you missed my wedding for this. But fame brought other things too. Things Daehyun did not expect and did not want. Crown Prince Ralvek watched the human's success with growing rage. He had expected Daehyun to fail. He had counted on it. The human's failure would have proven that sentiment was weakness, that his mother's decision to honor this primitive species was a mistake. Instead, the human had succeeded where trained diplomats had failed for centuries, and now the entire galaxy was talking about humanity's potential, about compassion as a diplomatic tool, about how the Velthari Empire was wise to recognize this overlooked species. It was an insult, a threat, and Ralvek did not tolerate threats. He gathered his most loyal supporters in a private chamber deep within the flagship. Military officers who believed strength was the only thing that mattered. Traditionalists who hated the changes Velmora was suggesting. Ambitious courtiers who saw opportunity in chaos. The human must be dealt with, Ralvek said. If he continues to succeed, he will change the fundamental power structure of the galaxy. Species will begin to believe that weakness disguised as kindness is acceptable. Our empire will become soft. What do you propose? One of his generals asked. An accident, Ralvek said coldly. Something that cannot be traced back to us. Make it look like anti-human extremists. There are plenty of species who resent humanity's sudden rise. We simply give them opportunity. Meanwhile, Daehyun was trying to learn about Velthari culture. Velmora had invited him to attend a cultural exhibition where various species demonstrated their customs and traditions. Humans were expected to participate too. What am I supposed to demonstrate? Daehyun asked Sekrin while they prepared. I'm not particularly good at anything cultural. Perhaps you could show them how to prepare human food? Sekrin suggested. Many beings are curious about Earth cuisine. That was how Daehyun ended up teaching a group of fascinated aliens how to make kimchi. He had called his mother for the recipe and instructions. She had laughed and cried at the same time, pleased that her son was sharing their culture with the galaxy. About 30 beings gathered around his demonstration table. Velthari, Krix, Belkor, and species Daehyun did not recognize. They watched with interest as he explained fermentation and showed them how to prepare the vegetables. The important thing is patience. Daehyun explained while mixing the spice paste. You can't rush fermentation. It takes time for the flavors to develop properly. My grandmother always said that good kimchi is like good relationships. They both need time and care to reach their full potential. The aliens nodded and took notes. Some asked questions about Earth vegetables. Others wanted to know about human family structures and why grandmothers seemed important in food preparation. Daehyun was explaining the difference between different types of kimchi. When the explosion happened, the blast came from behind him. Where the power cores for the demonstration equipment were stored, someone had sabotaged them. The explosion was not large enough to destroy the room, but it was aimed directly at where Daehyun stood. He did not have time to react. Did not have time to even understand what was happening. But Sekrin did. The young Velthari threw himself in front of Daehyun just as the blast wave hit. The plasma bolt that would have killed the human instead struck Sekrin directly in his carapace. The force threw both of them backward onto the floor. Daehyun's ears rang. Smoke filled the air. Alarms blared. Security forces rushed in from all directions. But all Daehyun could see was Sekrin lying beside him, a massive burn wound across his chest. His attendant's limbs twitched weakly. His compound eyes were dimming. Sekrin. Daehyun crawled to him, pressing his hands against the wound even though he knew it would not help. Someone get a medic. Please, he's hurt. Sekrin's limb reached up and touched Daehyun's face gently. Honored guest, don't talk. Save your strength. Help is coming. Tears streamed down Daehyun's face. You're going to be okay. You have to be okay. Thank you. Sekrin's voice was barely a whisper. For teaching me. It's not weakness. To care, Sekrin, please. Please don't go. Daehyun was sobbing now, holding his friend as gently as he could. Please, I need you. You're my friend. The young Velthari's eyes glowed one last time. Then the light faded. His limbs went still. Daehyun sat there on the floor, holding Sekrin's body, crying openly in front of dozens of witnesses. In Velthari culture, such emotional display was shameful. Weakness. Something to be hidden. But Daehyun did not care about Velthari culture right now. He did not care about anything except the fact that his friend had died saving him. The entire scene was broadcast across the Empire. Security cameras had captured everything. Millions of Velthari watched a human weeping over a Velthari servant as if they were family. Watched him beg for help. Watched him grieve without shame or restraint. For young Velthari who had grown up in a culture that demanded emotional restraint, it was revolutionary. They saw strength in Daehyun's tears. They saw honor in his grief. They saw what their culture had taught them to hide. That caring deeply for someone was not weakness. Social networks exploded with discussion. Is it shameful to weep for a friend? Have we forgotten how to feel? The human shows us what we have lost. Prince Morveth moved quickly. He had suspected his brother might try something, though he had hoped Ralvik would not be so reckless. He presented evidence to his mother, communications between Ralvik's supporters and the beings who had sabotaged the equipment, financial records showing payments, security footage showing known extremists entering the palace. Belamora's rage was cold and absolute. She summoned her eldest son to the throne room with the entire court present, the same court that had witnessed Daehyun's first audience. "You conspired to murder a guest under my protection," Belmora said. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard it clearly. "You brought shame upon our house. You violated the most sacred laws of hospitality." Ralvik did not deny it. "I did what was necessary. The human is a threat to everything our empire represents. His weakness will destroy us. His weakness?" Bellamora stood from her throne. Sekren gave his life to save Daehyun. The human wept for a servant as if for a brother. "And you call this weakness? You who hide your feelings behind armor and protocol? You who cannot show compassion even to your own family?" "Compassion is a luxury we cannot afford," Ralvik insisted. "The galaxy respects only strength." "The galaxy fears strength," Morveth said, stepping forward. "But it remembers kindness. Tell me, brother, which do you think lasts longer, fear or loyalty earned through genuine care?" The court was silent. This was not just a family disagreement. This was a fundamental question about what the empire should be. Bellamora made her judgment. "By the laws of our people, you are guilty of treason. You are stripped of your titles and exiled from the empire. You will leave this ship within the hour and never return." Ralvik stared at his mother with shock. Exile was worse than death for Velthari. It meant complete loss of identity, of belonging, of purpose. "You would choose a human over your own son?" he asked. "I choose the future over the past," Velmora replied. "I choose growth over stagnation. I choose compassion over cruelty. And yes, I choose the path that humans showed us over the path you represent." Ralvik was escorted from the throne room. His supporters melted away, unwilling to share his fate. Princess Kivara, who had been carefully neutral throughout everything, now stepped forward and pledged her support to the new direction. Velmora went to Daehyun's quarters personally. She found him sitting by the window, staring out at the stars. His eyes were red from crying. He looked exhausted. "I failed him," Daehyun said without looking at her. "Sekren died because of me. Sekren died because my son is a fool," Velmora corrected gently. "And Sekren died making a choice. He chose to save you. He chose to show that caring for someone is worth any price." "I should go home," Daehyun said. "I'm causing too much trouble here. Your son is exiled because of me. Someone died because of me. This is all too much." Bellamora sat beside him, something she had never done for anyone in decades. "Do you know what Sekren told me before he became your attendant?" "He said he was honored but confused. He asked why I would assign him to care for a human. I told him to keep an open mind and see what he could learn." "I didn't teach him anything," Daehyun said bitterly. "You taught him everything," Velmora insisted. "You taught him that it is not shameful to show emotion, that friendship can cross species boundaries, that caring deeply for someone is strength, not weakness. His death was tragic, but his choice to save you has changed millions of minds across the empire. Young Velthari are questioning everything they were taught about emotional restraint. They are asking if we have become too cold, too distant from each other. That's what he died for?"
That is what he chose to live for in his final moments.
He chose connection over isolation, love over indifference. Velmora placed a gentle limb on Daehyun's shoulder. "I still want you as ambassador. I still want humanity to have a voice in galactic affairs. But I will not force you. You may return to Earth whenever you wish. The choice is yours." Daehyun was quiet for a long time. He thought about Sekren, about his sister's wedding, about carrying bags for an old lady, about all the small choices that had led to this impossible moment. "Can I have some time?" he finally asked. "I need to go home, see my family, process all of this. But I'll come back. I'll train others if you want. I'll help however I can. Just give me a little time to be Daehyun from Seoul again instead of humanity's representative." "Of course," Velmora said. "Take all the time you need." 3 days later, Daehyun stood in his small apartment in Seoul. His mother had made his favorite meal. Hyejin and her new spouse had cut their honeymoon short to see him. Bora from next door had brought over enough kimchi to feed an army. Everything was normal. Wonderfully, perfectly normal. "So you're famous now," Heejin said while they ate. My brother the Galactic Mediator. I'm not famous, Daehyun protested. I'm just a guy who helped some people. You're trending on 15,000 worlds, his brother-in-law said, showing his datapad. There are discussion groups about you. Academic papers being written about the human compassion doctrine. Someone made a song about you. A song? Daehyun groaned. Please tell me it's not terrible. It's very terrible, Hyejin laughed. But also kind of sweet. It's about missing flights and changing the galaxy. His mother watched him with quiet pride. Are you going back? Eventually, Daehyun said. They want me to help train human diplomats in what they're calling compassion-based negotiation. The Galactic Council is actually interested now. Other species want to learn about it too. All because you helped an old lady with her bags, Bo-Ra said, shaking her head. That's the most Daehyun thing ever. I didn't know she was the supreme matriarch, Daehyun insisted. I just thought she was a nice old lady who needed help. That's exactly why it worked, his mother said wisely. If you had known who she was, you might have acted differently. But you just saw someone who needed help and you helped. That's who you are. Over the next few weeks, Daehyun returned to his normal life. He went back to his job in cargo logistics. His boss gave him an awkward promotion and a raise, clearly unsure how to treat someone who was now technically a galactic figure. He volunteered at the refugee center. He had dinner with his mother every Sunday, but messages kept coming. From young Velthari wanting to learn about human emotions, from other species curious about compassion-based diplomacy, from stations requesting human cultural consultants. The galaxy had noticed humanity, and it was not going to forget. 2 months after returning to Earth, Daehyun received a message from Velmora. The first interspecies empathy summit was being planned. She wanted him there. Not as a representative, not as an ambassador, just as himself. As the human who started it all, Daehyun sat in his tiny apartment looking at the invitation on his datapad. Outside his window, Seoul bustled with its usual energy. Hover cars moved through the sky. People walked on the streets below. Everything was exactly as it had always been, except it was not. Not really. He pulled up his work schedule. He had a shift tomorrow at the cargo depot. Inventory management. Filing reports. The same routine he had followed for 5 years. Simple, safe, predictable. His datapad buzzed again. A message from Taemin. Did you see the news? 3 more species just joined the Compassion Diplomacy Initiative. They're literally calling it the Daehyun Protocol now. You're not going to live this down, are you? Another message, this time from a young Velthari student. My name is Tekvin. I watched the recording of you grieving for Sekrin. I have never seen anyone show such emotion. My parents say it is shameful, but I think it is brave. Can you teach me how humans learn to care so deeply? More messages. A Claviche diplomat asking for advice on a difficult negotiation. A Crix merchant wanting to thank him because the joint mining operation was working better than anyone expected. A human university requesting permission to teach a course based on his mediation techniques. Daehyun set down his datapad and walked to his small kitchen. He made instant noodles, the cheap kind that tasted like cardboard and nostalgia. While the water boiled, he looked at the photo of his family on the wall. His father smiled out from the frame, forever young, forever proud. What would you do, Dad? Daehyun asked the photo. Would you go back? Would you keep trying to help even though it's scary and overwhelming and way too big for someone like me? His father's smile did not change, but Daehyun could almost hear his voice. You already know the answer, son. You knew it the moment you saw that old lady struggling with her bags. The noodles were ready. Daehyun ate them slowly, thinking, remembering, processing. Sekrin had died believing that caring was not weakness. Hundreds of young Velthari were questioning their culture's emotional restraint because they saw a human weep for a friend. The Crix and Belcor were working together, for the first time in 600 years, because someone asked them what they actually needed instead of what they wanted to win. All of that happened because Daehyun missed a flight to help a stranger. He finished his noodles and made a decision. The next morning, Daehyun went to his boss and requested a leave of absence. 3 months to start. Maybe longer if needed. His boss approved it immediately, looking both disappointed to lose a worker and excited to have an employee who was literally reshaping galactic diplomacy. He called his mother. I'm going back, Mom, not forever. But I need to do this. There's this summit and people are asking for help, and I think maybe I can actually make a difference. His mother was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I know. I've been waiting for you to realize it. Go, help people. That's what you do best. But come home for holidays. And call me every week. I will. I promise. Heejin was next. She laughed when he told her. Of course you're going back. You're an idiot who can't stop helping people even when it would be easier to just mind your own business. But you're our idiot. Make us proud and I'll try. Don't try. Just be yourself. That's been working pretty well so far. Bora helped him pack. She had watered his plants while he was gone before and promised to do it again. Taemin threw him a small going-away party at their favorite restaurant. Their co-workers toasted to the guy who accidentally became important. 3 days later, Daehyun stood on a transport vessel heading back to Nexus Station. From there, he would catch a Velthari ship to the summit location. His backpack held the same worn clothes as before, plus a few new things. Pictures of his family, a container of his mother's kimchi, a stone from his father's grave, reminders of home, of who he was before any of this started. The transport arrived at Nexus Station and Daehyun felt a strange sense of completion. This was where it all began. Terminal 47, where he saw Mora struggling. Terminal 94, where he said goodbye to her not knowing who she really was. The bench where he sat and deleted what he thought was a spam message. A figure waited for him at the arrival gate. Prince Morveth, dressed in simple robes rather than royal regalia. Prince Morveth. Daehyun bowed awkwardly. I wasn't expecting anyone to meet me. Please, just Morveth. I wanted to thank you personally before the summit begins. Your actions have given me the opportunity to push for reforms I have wanted for years. The Empire is changing slowly, but it is changing. Young Velthari are embracing emotions they were taught to hide. Families are becoming closer. We are remembering how to care for each other. I just helped someone with their bags, Daehyun said, embarrassed. You helped my mother see that our empire had become cold and distant. You helped Sekren discover that friendship was worth his life. You helped 2 ancient enemies find compromise. You helped an entire generation of my people question whether strength without compassion is truly strength at all. Morveth gestured toward the docking bay. Come, the summit awaits, and the galaxy is watching to see what the human who changed everything will do next. The summit was held on a neutral world, a beautiful planet with 3 moons and crystalline oceans. Representatives from 40 different species attended. Diplomats, scholars, religious leaders, and politicians. All there to discuss something that had been ignored for generations, how compassion could reshape galactic relations. Daehyun felt completely out of place among them. But when Velmora introduced him to the assembly, something unexpected happened. The beings gathered there did not see a simple cargo handler from Earth. They saw the person who proved that kindness could achieve what force and cleverness could not. Over 3 days, Daehyun shared his thoughts, not his speeches. He was terrible at speeches, just his conversations. He told them about his father's philosophy, about his mother's wisdom, about helping people because it was the right thing to do, not because you expected something in return. He taught them the technique he had used with the Crix and Belcor, asking what people actually needed instead of focusing on what they wanted to win. Listening not just to respond but to understand, finding solutions that acknowledged everyone's fears and needs, even if those solutions were messy and imperfect. Human diplomacy is not about being clever, Daehyun explained to a group of Claviche diplomats. It is about being honest, about showing that you care about finding a solution that works for everyone, not just a solution that makes you look good. A Thornian warlord asked, but what about when caring makes you vulnerable? When showing compassion gives your enemies an advantage? Daehyun thought about Sekren, about vulnerability and strength. Sometimes being vulnerable is the bravest thing you can do. It shows you trust the other person enough to be honest with them. And trust, real trust, is stronger than any weapon. The summit ended with a declaration. 20 species, including the Velthari Empire, pledged to incorporate empathy-based approaches into their diplomatic training. Earth was invited to send representatives to help develop the curriculum. The Galactic Council officially recognized humanity as an emerging leader in conflict resolution. On the final evening, Velmora hosted a private dinner for Daehyun and a small group. Morveth was there. Kivara, who had proven to be a valuable ally once she understood which way history was moving. Several young Velthari who had started what they called the emotional awakening movement. I have been thinking, Velmora said as they ate, about monuments. about how we remember important moments. Most species build statues of warriors and conquerors. They celebrate strength and victory. That makes sense, Daehyun said, wondering where this was going. I want to build something different. A memorial to Sekrin, not to celebrate his death but to honor his choice. His choice to care more about another being's life than his own. His choice to prove that compassion is worth any sacrifice. She looked at Daehyun, and I want you to help design it. Me? I don't know anything about memorials or monuments. You knew Sekrin. You understood what he died for better than anyone. The memorial should reflect that understanding. They designed it together over the following weeks. Not a towering statue or an imposing structure. Instead, a quiet garden on the Imperial flagship where beings could sit and reflect. At its center, a simple sculpture showing two figures, one helping the other with bags. A human and a Velthari, captured in a moment of simple kindness. Below it, an inscription in every major galactic language. Sekrin gave his life to protect a friend. In doing so, he taught us that caring for others is not weakness, but the highest form of strength. Let those who visit remember, the smallest acts of kindness can change the galaxy. The memorial was dedicated on the anniversary of Sekrin's death. Daehyun stood before it with Sekrin's family, who had traveled from their homeworld. They thanked him through tears, something that would have been unthinkable for Velthari a year ago. After the ceremony, Daehyun sat alone in the garden. The flagship's simulated evening settled over the space, making the lights glow softly. He pulled out his datapad and composed a message. Dear Heejin, he wrote, I'm sorry again for missing your wedding. I know I've apologized 100 times, but I'll probably apologize 100 more. But I want you to know that everything that happened, all the crazy, impossible things, started because I stopped to help someone who needed it. Dad taught us that. Mom showed us that. And I'm trying to live that every day. I'll be home next month for your first anniversary dinner. I promise I won't miss it. Well, probably won't miss it. Okay, I'll really try not to miss it. But if I do, it'll be because someone needed help and I couldn't walk past them. You understand, right? Love you. Your idiot brother who accidentally became important. He sent the message and leaned back, looking up at the artificial stars. A year ago, he had been a simple cargo handler rushing through a station. Now he was sitting in a memorial garden on the most powerful ship in the galaxy, having just helped organize a summit that might reshape galactic diplomacy. It was absurd, impossible, completely insane, and he still did not fully understand it. But maybe that was okay. Maybe he did not need to understand everything. Maybe he just needed to keep being himself, keep helping when he could, keep choosing kindness even when it was difficult or inconvenient or seemed too small to matter. His datapad buzzed. A message from an unknown sender requesting advice on a diplomatic situation. Another from a university wanting him to speak to students. A third from a young human who wanted to become a compassion-based mediator and was asking for guidance. Daehyun smiled and started responding to each one. There was work to do, people to help, connections to build, and tomorrow morning he had promised his mother he would call. She would want to know if he was eating properly and getting enough sleep. She would remind him to be careful and come home soon. She would tell him she was proud of him, but that he would always be her little boy who gave away his lunch to classmates who forgot theirs. That was the best part, Daehyun thought. No matter how much the galaxy changed, no matter how many impossible things happened, he was still just Daehyun, still the guy who could not walk past someone who needed help, still the son who called his mother every week, still the brother who would always feel guilty about missing that wedding, still human, still flawed, still learning, still trying to be kind in a galaxy that had forgotten how, and somehow, impossibly, that was exactly what the galaxy needed. The stars shone through the garden's transparent ceiling. Ships moved in the distance, carrying beings to destinations across the cosmos. The universe turned on, vast and infinite and full of possibility. Somewhere out there, someone needed help. And when Daehyun found them, he knew exactly what he would do. The same thing he always did. The simple thing, the right thing. He would stop and ask if they needed a hand.